said it wouldn't last 40 days, let alone 40 years.
You know, it's not just a place for older white men or older white people or...
Let's call it oikos. Well, we thought, if we called it oikos, we'd probably be closed in 3 weeks or 3 months at least.
Welcome, listeners, to this special 60th anniversary edition focusing on the Ark's journey from its inception to its current status as a cherished music venue. Here on my right, we have Reverend Don Postema, co-founder of the Ark, who is going to share history of the Ark, how the Ark came up with its name. He's going to walk us through what it was like during the earlier days at the Ark. Here on my left, we have our current executive director of the Ark, Marianne James, who is going to also walk us through what some of the earlier days at the Ark when she started here and where we're currently going and our vision for the Ark in its future. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to having a great discussion. Hopefully you all will learn some new and interesting facts that you haven't heard in these last 60 years of the Ark. So Reverend Don Postema, can you take us back to the beginning of the Ark? Can you share the story behind the founding of the Ark in 1965 and what inspired the name the Ark?
Well, First Presbyterian Church was thinking about having a coffee house, campus ministry, in a home or a house that they had on their property. So they got a couple of other churches, First Presbyterian, Calvary Presbyterian, North Side Presbyterian. Then I heard about it from Campus Chapel, and I decided to join. So we talked, and there's a lot of maneuvering and what are we going to do and how to do it. But then it started in 1965 in that house. And I think the first night there was a poetry reading, and we gradually wanted it to be a place, a safe place, a warm place for students to come in the middle of the 60s, were really upsetting times. Vietnam War, racial tensions, all kinds of other kinds of protests going on the campus. Academically, people were probably being upset personally. They're learning how to live and stuff. So we came up with different names for this place. One was oikos, which is a Greek word for house, or made, and it's the basis for the word ecumenical. And since this was an ecumenical feature, we thought, let's call it oikos. Well, we thought if we called it oikos, we'd probably be closed in 3 weeks or 3 months at least. Would you like to go to the oikos tonight? What? So we did. Then we came up with the name The Fish, because the fish was a symbol of Christianity a long time ago. But somehow the Ark, I mentioned the Ark, and that seemed to fit the stormy kind of situation that we had in society and in people's lives. And somehow the Ark stuck. We'd keep people coming 2 by 2, a little smelly maybe because of hippies, and it would be a safe place to be. So it came up, the Ark stuck, and it's been afloat ever since. But it was first called the Interfaith or Church Campus Ministry, or Interfaith Coffee House, Interfaith Coffee House. But that didn't seem to work. We wanted it to be more open to all kinds of people, not look like we're preaching or proselytizing, but simply offering a place for people to be at home, ask their questions, find out community, and so we came up with a different name. What we used to have then is we started out with poetry readings, and then we would have professors in, people that we wanted to hear outside of the classroom, or we had a policeman in who was bashing heads at protests. We had him come and speak. So we gradually had speakers. Then they started the Hootenanny, and that was on Wednesday evening, and anybody could come and play. And quite a few famous people started there. It's now open night?
Open stage.
Open stage, now called. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, we started having music. And it grew and grew, and now it's known for music, right? Folk, roots, music.
Interesting. So, from what I'm hearing, the ARC's original mission was to just be a safe space for students, faculty, during such a volatile time,
Yeah.
to come and gather together.
Yeah, it was a gathering,
Mm-hmm.
meant to be some kind of gathering place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Chicago, to a couple of other places where there was also campus ministry, coffee houses. They were all over the United States. So I would go to various places and find out what they were doing. Some of them had a bookstore, some of them had coffee house all during the day and programs at night. So we had to figure out what to do. There was even a book written about coffee house ministry. And the guy also put a recipe for good coffee at the end of the book. So that was very helpful. We studied a lot to know what do we want, and then we asked people, of course, to find out what they were looking for.
So, Don, I want to add something to that. Kathy Dannemiller, who was co-founder
Yes.
with you and was part of First Presbyterian Church, she had a great quote that she shared years ago. And she said that for herself, she wanted the ARC to be a safe place for young people who believed the world needed to change, but didn't think you had to blow it up to change it. And I've always remembered that.
Yeah. Well, I feel really honored that you even asked me to be here. For this world-renowned place. It's really something to be part of something that started 60 years ago, and I'm still around to celebrate it and to reminisce about it. I guess that's one of the values of being a 90-year-old person.
Mm-hmm.
But I really am honored that you even asked me to do this today.
I was telling Marianne, I was telling your team, I'm honored to be sitting here and talking with you, talking with Marianne, and digging deep more about the ARC. It's definitely an honor for me. As I came to the ARC, I remember coming to the ARC in college. So let's see, 2009. Like I remember coming here. It was always like known, as a place on campus. So it's pretty cool that it still has its reputation on campus as it did, 60 years ago, in a way.
I have to tell you this story. It's a famous story. About a couple of weeks, maybe a month at the most, into the ARC, somebody wrote a critique, a review of the ARC in the Michigan Daily.
Mm-hmm.
She said it'd be better to hang some beads in your college dorm door and play music, and that would be better than the ARC. It's not going to last. Well, here we are. I always wanted to find her. Her name was Joyce something. I always wanted to find her. She said it wouldn't last 40 days, let alone 40 years.
And here we are celebrating 60 years of the ARC. Always choose your words carefully.
That's right.
Okay, well, moving on. It was so great to hear about how the ARC started and coming up with the name, and you actually named the ARC, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what people say. So.
I would like to take a moment for us to think, what would life have been like at the ARC if it was named the Fish? It would
Right.
be the ARC. The ARC probably sticks better.
Or Orcas.
Or Orcas.
It would be famous
Yes.
for yogurt now.
Mhm.
It would be It would be famous for not lasting very long.
Yes, no longer than 40 days, right?
Would be, how do you spell that again? How do you say that again?
So I want to kind of turn the gears and kind of talk more about what were some of the challenges, some of the significant challenges that the ARC faced in its early years, and how did the early team at the ARC, how did you all overcome it?
Well, we didn't know what would happen, you know. So we just opened it and invited. We had some nice advertising, but it was a new venture, so we didn't know what was going to happen. And people sat on the floor, came, but people gradually kept coming, and then we had music, and then we got crowded on the weekends, and the challenge was we were in this house that belonged to First Presbyterian Church. And they used it also for Sunday school and some other things. And it was sometimes a contentious relationship. But it was their idea, of course. You know. The other thing was money. First Press put in most of the money at the beginning and the house. And the other places just, I don't know, gave $100 a year or something. What we did have was, how do we serve people who are there? Because the idea was we had coffee, tea, pop, corned beef sandwiches, pastries, donuts, all free.
Orange Crush Pop?
And it was all free. And during intermission, we had people from the churches come and serve. So we had to started getting people more involved. How do we do all this? And pretty soon we needed more and more. We called them douloi. Douloi is a word for servant in the Bible. And so we called them the douloi. And we gradually got more and more of these volunteers. And that's become the volunteers, not from the churches, but all the volunteers that we have at the place now. My gosh, what, 300-400 of them. But it was these volunteers who served this food. Here was a challenge. You could use this. One night we were sitting together at a board meeting, and we couldn't figure out why the manager was taking the taxi to Detroit and back, which was costing us quite a bit of money, and we didn't have much money in the first place. He was going to Detroit to get some authentic corned beef for our sandwiches that were free. One of the persons, Kathy Dallaviller, said, "We're going to close the ARC. It's done, we're done." Well, we talked about it some more, we didn't do it. But it was touch and go right there, because.
But you stopped serving corned beef sandwiches.
Yeah, we stopped serving corned beef sandwiches, that's for sure.
And I've heard the stories about how the donuts were cut into quarters.
Yes, they were.
And passed out at that point.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we got cheaper.
They got a little more frugal.
Yeah, but there was coffee.
Got wiser.
Yeah.
They got wiser, and you focused more on feeding souls
Yeah.
rather than feeding bellies.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting that you mentioned the start of the volunteers working at the ARC. So if you all don't know, the ARC is heavily based on our volunteers. They make the ARC go round. They're the ones who manage our shows, who work our shows. We're so thankful for our volunteers. Around that time, was this an intentional decision that you all made, that volunteers was going to become like the workers for the ARC, or did it just?
You know, we're just flying by the seat of our pants. You know? And we needed people to do something. So some of us weren't giving very much money to the ARC, but we gave a lot of work to the ARC. And we used people from our churches, just volunteered to be there. So that's how it started. It wasn't a conscious effort to create volunteers, but just had people serve. They were servers, mostly. People at the door collecting tickets. I think it cost 50 cents a night to get in.
Wow.
Yeah,
50
and,
cents, yeah.
and, you know, we sat on the floor, as I said, and stuff just happened. And it was so intimate, because there were only about 150 people could fit in there. And so it was intimate. There's a picture online of here are the people, and here's the performer, you know, right next to him. And so it was a very intimate place, and it became really kind of fun with all the people in there. They'd sing along, and they'd have all kinds of stuff there.
That's a really interesting fact, because I think that speaks to the legacy of the ARC and how the ARC over the 60 years have kept some of its foundation still the same. The foundation of having the volunteers, still the ARC being a listening room with 400 capacity, you know, still having that close proximity to the artists on stage and being able to hear, you know, music and poetry and comedy up close. I want to switch it over to you, Marianne, with reflections on legacy. Can you kind of talk more about your start with coming into the ARC and how you got started here, and what were things like when you walked into the ARC's doors?
Well, I started as a patron of the ARC, as an audience member, and my introduction to the ARC was at what is affectionately known as ARC 2, which was the second ARC, which was down on South Main Street, which is now an apartment building. But I lived on the Old West Side. I lived very close, and I could walk to the ARC, and so I loved the music, and I could just walk down and see a show. It was a fantastic resource and just a wonderful thing. And it was easy to go by yourself, go with friends. You know, it's always been that very comfortable place. So I loved the ARC for a long time, and left town for a little while and came back and was working in nonprofit, and they had an opening for a development director role. And I applied, and as I understand it, I was the first person that was ever hired that was not personally known to people involved in the ARC. There was a very rigorous interviewing process and lots of wringing of hands of, can we really hire this person? So I came in as the development director for a couple of years in 1997. So it was just after the ARC had moved here. So it had moved from ARC 2 to this space. And you know, when you look around this space, you can see, as you were saying, Melissa, the things that were really carried over from one space to the next space to the next space, to try, and even though the ARC has gotten bigger, went from 125-ish to 150-ish seats, all the way now to 400, bigger stage, you know, lots of amenities that weren't available at first, but that sense of how do we maintain the intimacy, how do we maintain the spirit of place. When they moved here, there were a lot of changes. Bigger, taller ceilings, bigger capacity, bigger stage itself, and it began to be able to bring bigger acts, bigger bands. You can get, I don't know, I can't remember what the record is, but I don't know, 20 people on this stage. We try not to do that too much. That has, you know, it's a little bit different, but a lot the same.
In case you didn't know, the ARC actually had 3 phases of what we would say is 3 phases from beginning of 1965 into where we are now in 2025. So Marianne, you came in the ARC phase 2. Is that what
I came in as an audience member in the second ARC,
okay.
And then I came in as a staff member in the third ARC,
okay.
which is here, which moved here in 1996.
Okay, nice. So I want to pick your brain a little bit. Take me back to what it was like when you first came to the ARC as a patron. What were some similarities to how the show is now? Was it vastly different? What was the vibe? What was the feel?
The vibe was a lot the same in many ways. You walked up some stairs to get to the ARC, and Linda Siglin would be taking tickets, and Dave Siglin and the volunteers would be behind the bar, and it was very intimate. And they didn't have dressing rooms at that point, so they had this little room, and I don't remember if the sound booth was also the same thing, but this little room that the artists would be in, and then they'd walk through the audience to get to the stage. And Dave
Same at the first ARC, yeah.
Same at the first ARC, yeah. And they had this kind of window thing, or you could see the venue from the bar. You could see the listening room, I believe, from the bar. It was really an easy place to go to, very comfortable, very down to earth, and you could tell that the artists just loved playing there.
I have to ask this.
Yeah.
Was Orange Crush being served?
I don't think
during
Orange
that
Crush was
time?
being served,
They
but
took it off the menu by that time.
there was a liquor license that came
Yeah,
into
they
play.
got one.
Okay.
And
If
there
you
was
remember.
a lot of consternation about that, about should the art get a liquor license, shouldn't it? I wasn't there at the time. It did ultimately get a liquor license. So no Orange Crush. But,
So Michigan Daily, you should have waited about
That's
20
right, that's
years
right.
later.
That's right.
A question for you both that I think would be interesting to hear your different perspectives on this. So since we're reflecting on history and reflecting on what the earlier days at the Arc was like, moving into our current stage, how would you say the aspects of the original mission is seen and reflected in today's Arc?
Let me tell you what the mission is. And I don't know, Don, when this mission was adopted.
I don't remember either.
But it feels like it's been there forever. And I know it was there when I came on board in 1997, so I'm sure it's been there for a long time. So the ARC is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the enrichment of the human spirit.
That's a really important part.
Well, that's the mission.
Yeah.
The mission is enrichment of the human spirit.
Yes.
The way they do it is through the way we do it, all of us, community, is through the next part. So dedicated to the enrichment of the human spirit through the presentation, preservation, and encouragement of folk, roots, ethnic music, and related arts. That's part one, enrichment of the human spirit through music. Part two is the ARC provides a safe and welcoming atmosphere for all people to listen to, learn about, perform, and share music. So it's both this enrichment of the spirit, but a safe place, as Don was saying earlier, for people to gather. Those are the two hallmarks of our mission. And that is what we focus on night after night. We present over, as you said earlier, Melissa, over 300 shows a year.
Yeah.
And we are focused on gathering people together in a space that feels warm and welcoming, and music that really enriches, people coming together to feel whatever music does, whether it's making them laugh, whether it's making them think, whether it's making them, feel joyous. That's what happens in this space, and that's what's always happened at the ARC, at least from the time I've been there, and as I understand it, back to the beginning. What would you say?
I've written something about this, how community happens here. I read a little bit this week on what people were writing about review. One guy said, the community starts out on the sidewalk when people are waiting in line and they get to know each other. They may know each other, but they may not. So it's all right, even if they have to stand there in the snow and in the rain. Then they come in and they're talking to each other, and they get a beer or something, and they talk and get to know each other better. But then the music starts, and people come with all different problems. Money, houses, what am I going to do with my kids? What am I going to do with my parents? All kinds of marriage problems, relationship problems, work problems. And gradually, they start listening to the musicians. And pretty soon, we're playing with each other. We collect from them, and they like it, and they go do better for us. And we go back and forth. And pretty soon, the community is all focused, and some of all that stuff falls away for a little while. Like you said, joy and something. And you think, wow, it's like being in church. We'll be better. I've always admired ARC, and that's the enrichment of the human spirit kind of happening. It happens here, and it's palpable.
It is. I think what's so beautiful about the mission statement is that the ARC lives up to that term enrichment in every sense of the word, every form of the word. When we think about community and the artists we bring here and our volunteer staff, our staff, all the work that we do to bring these shows together, I think it's a give and take. Everyone is enriching each other. When an artist is up here, they're being enriched by the love that they're receiving from the audience, and it's not just a show. I think every artist who performed at the Arc has said that there's something different about this stage. There's just something magical and something beautiful about this stage. You don't have to worry about the theatrics or putting on a performance. It's a listening room and people can come and partake in the music together. It's like a bonding, a merging of the artist and the patron.
I'm so moved by what the artists say about coming here, especially when we were having that 60th anniversary concert.
Yeah.
What they all said about being here, it was so moving to me that people actually like to perform here. That's really nice.
You aren't aware about the Folk Fest kickoff. We had about 15 local artists that performed about a week before we had our Folk Fest in Hill Auditorium, and they all performed a song from, I believe it was 1965,
1965.
right? They all
Founding
performed the
year.
song
Yeah.
from 1965, our founding year, and it was truly beautiful. I felt, for me, I was looking through the lens that was bridging legacy and what you all started 60 years ago with where the Arc is going for the next 60 years. I mean, we had people of ranging in age that were performing on stage. We had different genre style that were up here on stage, from different race, creed, younger people that were here.
Yeah.
Speaking of preserving legacy and moving into our future, how do you balance honoring the Arc's rich history with the need to innovate and stay relevant, quote unquote?
So it's a wonderful question, and one that we will always be, but working with.
Okay.
We'll be working with that forever. And I think the Arc has always worked with that from the time it had the ability to say it had a legacy. The idea of enriching the human spirit is eternal. I mean, I think that's always going to be a need, that's always going to be something important, that's always going to be something that draws people. How you do that is very different, and music evolves, the folk process evolves. Some people think of folk as an end point. You know, folk music is this older, stale kind of, music, or music that enlivens them, but it's older. Folk is a process. There's a beginning where new songs are born and new artists come in, and they become more part of the vernacular, part of what we all are aware of. And the Arc is a place for that. So one of the things that happens here is that new artists can come and get known and get a sense of support from an audience, from a promoter and a venue, as we are, and become the next generation of artists. So now you hear, as you talked about, Melissa, the 60th anniversary concert, we had 2 looping artists in the mix there. And that's, there are traditional instruments, there are new instruments, there are new songs being born, there are older songs being interpreted in new ways. So that's what happens here in this incubator. How we get there and what we think about for the next 60 years has to do with making sure that we get new voices involved, younger voices, diverse voices, people who want this to be their place going forward. And that's what we try to nurture and focus on, so that the Arc continues to bring forward the important parts of his legacy, but be open to new things that shape it for the community as it is today. We're not only here for adults. One of the things that happens is helping young people, giving a boost to young people to learn about being audience members, to learn about music. So we have done family programming forever at the Arc, that families can come certain, days of certain weekends and bring their kids for concerts. We started doing field trip programs where students come in, classrooms come in, artists present, and the kids learn about music, and they learn about being audience members and being together and how to be a good audience member. And one of the things that we do with that, we've done a couple different things, but Matt Watroba and Robert Jones do a program called Common Chords.
Oh, that's good.
Which is really great. And then we've had Joe Riley here doing something called The Circle, which is a wonderful new program that we just started doing. And the Ann Arbor Public Schools have been here, doing some programming. So it's really, it's a way for young people to connect to live music and the live music experience in an age where we have screens all around us. This is an opportunity to really be there.
And that speaks to the ARC's mission statement, enrichment,
I think the other thing about the enrichment of the human spirit, there's such a turmoil going on in our society. It was going on already in the 60s, but it's back and with a vengeance. And somehow we can enter into that, to know we have something to offer people in the middle of all these disaster that's going on around us.
Just the idea of being able to sometimes put that aside, or sometimes jump into it if that's what you want to do. It depends on the artist and what their perspective is. But there's a place for all of that here.
When you listen to the 60s folk music, they were so politically active, but in a folksy way that they challenged a lot of stuff. And it's still going on today.
I think of folk, I always think of it as music for the people.
Yes.
So, there's always going to be music, there's always going to be people. So folk, it travels with us. It's a part of our breath, So for everyone who thinks folk music is not for you, folk music is for anyone.
That's right.
Everyone.
That's right. It comes with a lot of baggage for some people in terms of what does folk mean. Oh, I'm not interested in folk. Oh, folk means this, folk means that. For the ARC, folk means all kinds of music. And we're always trying to push back against people's perspective that folk is this, in this little box, in the little box that I have in my head or in my ears. And we're saying folk is way bigger than that. And we want people to know exactly what you're saying, Melissa, that folk is way bigger than that. And all kinds of genres, all kinds of perspectives, all kinds of opinions, they're all in there.
That's what root music means too, doesn't it? Like bluegrass and folk and all kinds of
country and blues and jazz and singer-songwriters and
all of that. Like you can't have the guitar without the banjo, right?
Right. That's right.
It's impossible.
Right.
So I'll take it back to you, Don. When we think about the ARC's commitment to essentially being a living room for Ann Arbor, fostering a culture of listening and community engagement, how do you feel about the ARC direction in the next 60 years? Do you think we will still keep that mission statement?
I think that mission statement is necessary. It's so simple and it was so good to have. It's so necessary when we think about no matter what. I'm not sure I'm going to be here in the next 60 years to see it happen, but I pray that it will happen. And we have this fantastic staff, beginning with Marianne and everybody else, who are so committed to that. They talk, still talking about it after it was written years ago. So committed to it, so I think it's not going to get lost. And it's going to be the basis of what we do in the future. What the future will look like, we don't know. We don't know what the music will look like even. We can't tell that. But I think there will be this listening. That's a great word to have it as a listening room, isn't it? Thanks to Ford.
Yes, that's the Ford listening room.
Yeah,
sure.
Ford listening room. But also, you listen, but I also want people to hear. There's a difference between listening and hearing. And I think if we're open to hearing new stuff, some of this stuff, it's really heavy for me to get into it. But I'm thinking, that's what the ARC is for, to bring in some of those new folk that were in the concert. Woo, that was really way out there for me. But it was really worth seeing. My kids said, wow, look at those people they had on that stage there that are coming up in the future. So I think if you keep the mission in front of us, and they do, we're gonna have a focus point for everything that we do. And how something that simple can be that broad is amazing, I think.
Taking it over to you, Marianne. What would you say to that? What do you think?
I think it's important for the ARC to always ask, what does the community need from us? What does the community need us to be? What do communities within the community need us to be? Because we're not one community, we're many communities.
Yeah.
So we have different communities in the Washtenaw County and Southeast Michigan region. We have different communities of artists, we have audience members, we have our volunteers, as you've talked about, we've all talked about. So what do we need to be? And who wants to step up and help shape that and support it? You know, people aren't talking these days so much about 5 and 10 year plans. They're talking about what's short in here and how can we be flexible and responsive to what's happening in the world, to what's happening in our community, to what people need. So I think that, you know, we're a listening room and we try to be a listening organization. So we try not to just listen to the music, but listen to the community.
That's good. Yeah.
And the community, when they put their hearts and their hands to what happens here, then they shape it. And we want to do more and more and more of that because we are coming to the end of certain eras, and music just keeps going. So that's what I would say. What does the community want and need, and who will step up to help?
Love that so
You know,
much.
we have quite a wide audience. I was sitting next to some people one night, and they were from Ohio. They come all the way up here from Ohio. And they said, yeah, we come a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's broader than even Washtenaw County.
Oh, sure.
Yep, we get a lot of people from Toronto,
Yeah.
definitely Windsor.
Really?
Windsor, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, yeah.
Well, and you can hear, you know, and we have communities that through the years have, you know, people call us up or email us and say, I want an ARC in my community. I used to go to school here, or I lived in Ann Arbor for a while, or I've been, you know, I've visited. We want to have an ARC. How do we have an ARC in our community? Because this is not very few communities have a venue like the ARC. It's an important part also of the touring ecosystem, you know,
Oh,
the
it is.
network.
Ann Arbor downtown is known for the ARC too.
Yep.
Not the only thing, but very important thing in tourism.
When you say Ann Arbor, you think dark.
You think the ARC?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You know, I live at Glacier Hills. A lot of us old people. And when people find out that I have something to do with the ARC, there's lots of people who have been there.
Mm-hmm.
They say, oh yeah, I used to go to the ARC. I used to go to the ARC. We're thinking that we ought to get a bus to take people to
Absolutely.
the bus once
We
in a while
should.
to the ARC.
That would be fun.
But there are people who know it from, oh, we went there when we were in college.
Right, all the way back.
It's amazing to be part of this organization. I'm so honored to be part of it. And when I hear the November reports, there's
Oh, the
an annual meeting. There's an hour meeting. All the different staff make a report. I call Marianne the next day and say, that was overwhelming. I am so proud. I had tears in my eyes
Wow.
about what those people do, and their dedication to the ARC is just amazing.
It is amazing.
It's not just a job.
No.
Your staff and you are really into it.
It's an amazing staff, and Melissa, you are one of our newer staff members, and you're bringing all kinds of connection for us to social media, which is a new, you know, for an organization that's been here for 60 years, that's a really important piece.
Yeah.
And you've done all kinds of work in that. And what do you see when you think about the ARC in the future? What do you think?
Yeah. When I think of the future of the ARC, it's a mirror. It's a mirror from what it was in 1965. It's like looking through a mirror and seeing everything that you all thought about, discussed, talked about happening like within the next 60 years, continuing to be that place where people can come to feel safe, people can come to feel open. You may leave heavy, but you leave lighter. And
That's what I meant,
Yeah, you know, and I hope to see the art continue to diversify itself. I mean, we had loopers up here on the stage at the Folk Fest kickoff. How was that for you, Don? To see the
Yeah, that was
loopers
something.
on the stage.
That's what my kids want. And they're 60 years old.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that we can still, you know, shock Don with new instruments on the stage.
That's right.
But yeah, that's where I see the future of the ARC. I see the ARC as limitless. I see the ARC as continuing to be a staple in our community and to truly be a place where everyone can come and partake in the genres of music that we share, and that it's not just a place for, I'm gonna be candid, you know, it's not just a place for older white men or older white people or just, you know, white people, you know, or that folk is not just a genre just for white people. Folk is music for the people.
We need
you
to work
know?
on that.
Yeah, you know, it's music for the people, and I'm dedicated, I'm very passionate to continue to spread our audiences, because the ARC is awesome, and I think that the more the people learn about who the ARC is and truly what we do here, that we'll see these doors be super colorful with all kind of people from all over. So that's my goal. That's what I'm looking for.
Passing the torch, Melissa. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes.
You got.
Thank
That's
you.
what we're talking about.
You
Yes.
caught it there. How long you been here?
A year.
Oh.
In April. Yep.
Oh,
it's
you caught it
officially a year.
already. Yeah, you
Yeah.
caught it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
How lucky are we, Don?
Mhm.
How lucky are we?
Well, I feel that every time you get a new person, or the people who have been here for such a long time,
Yeah.
all these were young people when they started. And they took over and developed both the knowledge and the expertise as they went along.
Yeah. But Melissa brought expertise to us.
What?
But Melissa brought expertise.
Sounds like it.
She
Yes,
she
yes.
came in. We were like, we need you. I think the biggest challenge that we have, it strikes me in this moment, maybe that's not completely true, but one of the biggest challenges we have is perception. People
Yes.
have a perception. They have a perception of folk. They have a perception of the ARC. They have a perception, and they say, "Oh, I don't go there. I don't do that. It doesn't have my music. It doesn't." And I would say the majority of the time, when somebody comes to the ARC for the first time, wherever they come from, they're like, "Oh, I get it. This is a great place. This is a place I can come back to." But it's getting people to come that can be a barrier because of the perceptions that people have, and you know, we have to own up that through the years we inadvertently reinforced those perceptions because maybe we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But
That's really important,
Yeah.
because I also meet people at Glacier Hills who have lived here for 30 years and never been here.
right.
Oh, yeah, I heard of it. I didn't want to go there. And I thought, oh, wow.
Yeah, and you know, we'll put on new kinds of music, and it's hard to get new audiences because of perception, because of things that we have. So it's this balancing act, as you asked earlier about balancing the legacy and history that we want to respect and honor with realizing what were the gaps in those histories, what did we not do, what do we need to do going forward, and how do we become that welcoming, even more welcoming space.
Yeah, that's true.
Perception, right? Perception becomes people's reality,
Right.
But I think what's so amazing about the time we're in now is social media and digital media, and how powerful social media and digital media can be to spread messages that we can't say, you know, to each individual person,
Right.
but we can put out a message, you know, sharing who we are, sharing the diversity of our shows, the diversity of artists that we have, you know, coming into our listening room. And I think one of the shows that speaks heavily to me that really represented where the ARC is going, that I thought was beautiful, was Black Box Show.
Yeah.
And we had a very diverse audience, and
Ooh, that's good.
we had a very diverse audience for that show. And also the artist Black Box was really bridging, you know, classical music, and he was bringing, you know, a sound of, you know, multiple genres that you wouldn't think of a classical sound, and I think that really represents what the ARC is. So I'm super passionate about letting everyone know that the ARC is awesome, and it's a space for everyone. And even if it is folk music,
Even
is-
if it
even
is.
if it
Oh,
is
oh.
folk- even if it is folk music, it's not just folk music. It's not just for one age or one race or one person. It's for everyone. And we have some good folk music though. We have some
I hope we
pretty
have a
good-
lot of good
Yeah,
folk
we have
music.
really great folk music.
I just want to catch that, this idea of enrichment of the human spirit. And you talked, Don, about how in the early days, the ARC did many, many things. But ultimately, it landed on music.
Yep.
And that was really largely Dave and Linda Siglin, his wife, really identifying, along I'm sure with the board and others, music is what really gets into people.
Yeah.
Music is what really moves people. And that idea of taking that enrichment of the human spirit and finding that it is through music and gathering and sharing that experience that that's what happens.
It also says music and related arts.
And related arts, that's right, spoken word, we've
And
had
that's what we
plays
need
here.
to
we've had-
emphasize that a little bit more
Yeah.
in our thinking. What does the related arts mean?
You heard it here first. Thank you so much for joining us on this special 60th year anniversary segment where we are celebrating 60 years of the ARC. Thank you so much to our co-founder, Reverend Don Postema, for joining us today, and our executive director, Marianne James, for also joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this conversation, hope you learned a lot, and we look forward to the next 60 years.